MJF kicked off this week's episode of AEW Dynamite with his magical world title contract and his brand new CMLL title. It's like, Hangman, you wouldn't give me a world title shot, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to take it out of one of your friends, Mark Briscoe. As we know, that is totally unhinged behavior. Also said he's going to send Mark Briscoe back to hell because he is the devil, or somewhere worse, like Dumpster, Delaware, which made me laugh and I felt bad, so I do apologize. And also mentioned he's going to have to be a chicken farmer forever, and also the fans only cheer you because they pity you. So later on, I'm absolutely going to whip your ass. MJF has found his feet again as a heel. I mean, he's been there for a few months. Well, it was a good old way to kick off the show and tell you a main event is coming and it's a big deal. Also, my friends, no matter ups and downs, the only wrestling vote show you need. And remember, just in case things happen and you aren't able to watch wrestling on TV anymore, I shall watch it so you don't have to. And one we have got here, naturally and organically, to use stupid words, I appreciate you always tuning in. Why not share it with a friend today? Even if they get mad, you can laugh at them. Let's up those downs. When indeed we did get to Jon Moxley versus Speedball Mike, I don't think MVP likes me anymore, Bailey. I shouldn't have said that. And actually they did a very funny social media skit to address those rumors. And I was a bit like, where did this match come from? But then again, Jon Moxley has beaten a lot of people up over the last 6 months. Now, there was no jeopardy here whatsoever because Moxley was never going to lose, mostly because he should lose to Darby Allin at the pay-per-view. And that's what I liked about this the most. At the start, Jonathan was kind of surveying the arena, going, is Darby here, is Darby here? So Allin has officially become Batman. Jon Moxley then poked Mike Bailey right in the eye. Of course, Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir eventually started casting distraction and doing interference and having a bit of confusion, so I wrecked the dick board. I shouldn't have said that, do forgive me. Thank you to the person on social media who suggested it, when Kevin Knight was like, excuse me, I'm out here too with my friend, and he got slapped in the face. And I did allow Mike Bailey to hit not one moonsault, but two, and the second one was that crazy double knee version, so put a one on the dive counter, but this is when Mike Bailey started to string all his moves together. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, he is a unique talent. We then got all these shooting star presses as Mike Bailey continued to get 1-2 oohs, 1-2 oohs, when Wheeler was going to interrupt again, but he wasn't able to because Darby Allin walked out, and I assume chloroformed him and kidnapped Wheeler Yuta. Man, I was laughing out loud, as I was through a lot of this episode of Dynamite. They did some crazy things, and you gotta put a one on the crown counter. Again, he kidnapped a man. Now, Bailey did try to use this to his advantage, and he did get the most devastating move in all of sports, an attempt at a surprise roll-up, but Mox was like, no, that's not going to happen. He applied the choke when he transitioned into the Death Rider, and he got the 1-2-3. And Marina then ran away, because they're like, well, now we've got to go find Darby. So I really did enjoy this. I thought it was super duper fun. I think Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight are going to have to get some wins soon. They're on a bit of a losing streak. But in terms of kicking off the show after what has been an absolutely nuts week in the world of pro wrestling, I'm giving it an up. I felt my tush sort of lean into the chair, whatever that means. I got comfortable is what I'm trying to say, and I was like, you know what? Let's just enjoy some professional wrestling. Renee Paquette then reminded us at Forbidden Door we are going to have a TBS title match, and it is Athena versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship match. And as she was there with Toni Storm and Alec Windsor, both these guys just started to make a lot of sexual innuendos. When Alex started to do it, she almost surprised herself. Toni Storm has rubbed off on her. Now I'm doing it. I think Toni said that they were a menagerie of bruising bitches, which is very interesting. And Windsor was all like, if you tried to lick me, I will lick you first. All I'm going to do is tell you today, if you have a couple of minutes, just go and watch it and just enjoy the absurdity of this to the point I am going to give it an up. I mean, it went no time at all, but it put a smile on my face, damn it, which was a nice reminder that is all pro wrestling has ever meant to do. I then think we have to put another one on the crime counter because Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir found a body bag with Wheeler Yuta in it when Darby Allin drove in, caused a fuss, and Mox was like, you know what, I'm just going to see what's in here. And it was a sign that said, Forbidden Door. I was a bit like, Darby, come here. I think you can just ask. Renee Paquette also spoke to Mercedes Moné, who has finally made her big comeback to AEW. Was all like, man, your match with Toni Storm All In was great. And Mercedes called her a mark and walked off. I tell you, everybody was hitting home runs tonight. When we got to this four-way to determine who is going to challenge the TBS title at Forbidden Door, it was Alex Windsor versus Queen Aminata versus Skye Blue versus Billie Starkz. And yes, look, some of this went a bit wibbly-jibbly. The craze on the internet are going crazy, obviously. And at one point, it kind of looked like Skye Blue hit herself into a steel chair. Number one, they didn't mean to do this. Things happen. Number two, they are human beings and you're going to get errors. And three, it really isn't a big deal. If you watch the whole thing as like an extended thing, the stupidest thing I've ever said, if you watch the whole match, it was perfectly fine. You must have times in your life when you're doing your job, like, man, I screwed up. Then you get to the end of the day, you go, you know what, I saved it, and everything turned out all right. Ultimately, I thought they did bring it back together, and they had a perfectly fine match. At one point too, Alex Windsor and Queen Aminata were just smacking Skye Blue around like she was a tennis ball, so she lost her mind and yelled at them. And in fact, she got so mad, she went and grabbed the Queen and she threw her into similar steel steps. Billie Starkz then realised everybody fighting on the outside, so she did do a massive dive, so it's a one on the counter, when Alex Windsor disappointed me because she hit the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunderbomb. Did it work? Of course it didn't. It never does. At one point, Queen Aminata and Alex Windsor got into it. They were just smashing each other in the face, to the point, even when Alex got a sharp shot on somebody else, Queenie just ran in and booted her right in the skull. So honestly, man, she really whoops people's butts. Skye even hit an Avalanche Code Blue, and Aminata was once again back to break it up at the 1-2. Ooh, that rhymes, so it must be true. And at one point too, Toni Storm and Athena were kind of getting into it as well, because Athena looked like she was going to interfere, and Toni Storm said no. Just what happens in wrestling. Now all of that kind of distracted Billie Starkz as well to put a one on the dick counter. So Alex Windsor was like, I'm done with this, and she hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll-up. She got the 1-2-3. Mercedes Moné came out straight after this. Because she has all these titles, she handed them off one by one to Aubrey Edwards before posing with a TBS one like, ta-da! So give me more of that. When she got into the face of Toni Storm, then Athena came out of nowhere, and she dropped the timeless one with the O face. So Mercedes was like, all right, well, I'm going to take out Alex Windsor, not to dinner. When these sort of former enemies were now friends, maybe they're going to have a little bit of a tag team match. This did do exactly what it had to do and basically told you that Toni and Mercedes will get into it again. So overall, I am going to give it an up, but yes, fine, I'll give it a little bit of a down because the match went slightly wonky, although I do not think it's a big deal at all. And actually, if you watch most matches, you will go, oh yeah, it's not as perfect as it could have been. I really don't think it's a big deal, but I also kind of understand. But you've got to come at this stuff at the right way. Some people go, oh, I thought AEW had production meetings now. Do you not know what a production meeting is? Well, no. No, you don't. You're a grifter. The Young Bucks then had a meltdown backstage last week and told us, "Stay hand, do not screw up our entrance, right? Here's a list of things that we do need." I've never been so excited in my whole life because you just knew it was going to be shenanigans. When we essentially got our big celebration for the fact that the TNT champion is now Kyle Fletcher, Don Callis here was getting a load of booze, and they set all their championships up on a table. I was like, that is not right, man. 3 of those are Okada's, which technically is only 1 belt. Still don't really understand that. Don Callis' big point, though, was look at this. Okada won these championships, and he took out Kenny Omega. Carl Fletcher won his, and he took out Dustin Rhodes, who was 60 years old. He is 56. And where's Adam Cole? Which is very harsh. He's not here anymore, because that's what my boys do. Him and Carl also know that he's going to go on to be the best TNT champion of all time. Well, we did actually go back in time to use the same word again, because now we have a brand new picture. Remember when Don Callis did this for Kenny Omega? It was basically exactly the same. And Kyle Fletcher was just built like a man beast. Still makes me laugh because it's so flubbing ridiculous. It also sounded like Kyle Fletcher is going to defend that TNT title on Collision, which is good because it's essentially meant to be a TV championship. This was basically by the numbers, but I will say this. Don Callis, Okada, and Kyle Fletcher did come across like quite a powerful team. Give it up, and hopefully we can jump on both of these titles because there's just way too many championships in pro wrestling altogether. But you got something with this one, you just gotta light a fire under it. Alicia Tout was there with Adam Copeland, who was all like, man, I saw what Christian Cage said last week, and man, screw that guy. I don't think he's learned anything, but given where we are in August, he's going one way, and I'm headed in a different direction. He also revealed his major plan here, because he's like, listen to me, Stokely Hathaway. I understand that I'm not allowed to get near FTR, but that's why it's now you versus me next week. So if you do not want to be totally obliterated, maybe Cash and Dax are going to have to get to the ring. If they don't, he's going to slaughter Hathaway, which is quite the word. And we'll just park it there for now, because just you wait until you hear Stokely's response. When we got to the next round of the tag team tournament, Brodido versus the Young Bucks, this honestly could be my favorite thing AEW has done for a long time. Because not only do we get goofy wrestling for life, well, you probably got one of the best tag team matches of the year. Before all that, though, I would tell you to go watch the Young Bucks' entrance, because not only did they have to climb under the big screen, which didn't go up in the air, they also essentially got called Generation Me, and when Justin Roberts read out the text he'd been told to read, he did it like AI. He was even saying comma, exclamation point. I could not enjoy this anymore. And because Matt Jackson's all like, we're not jobbers, we're not jobbers. The crowd started chanting jobbers. People are going to get so mad at me, but I don't care. I'm on one of those trips or whatever they say. I am giving what the Young Bucks done here, and in general and up, they are just becoming the butt of the joke. It makes me happy, man. That's the whole point. And listen, make sure you continue on to watch this match as well, because it was utterly redonkulous. I think Brody King went on the internet and essentially said that was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to PWG, and it was. They were diving around the place. I mean, you've got to put a 3 on the dive counter at the very least, but there were near falls and there were crazy moves, and even Brody himself, despite being a hoss, he was getting smacked in the face. Brodido was absolutely brilliant, and the Young Bucks, as far as I'm concerned, are one of the best tag teams of all time. And they lost here, which genuinely surprised me. You can spin this as we put the young team over, even though I don't really understand why Brody King and Bandito became buddies anyway. But when you're going to give me a match of this quality, who the flub cares? We've made sure to continue on the funny stuff halfway through, because even though it's been weeks, Matt and Nick went to hit the EVP trigger. Once again, they're like, oh yeah, we haven't got round to this yet. That's when Brody got the hot tag. Because he's just so damn big and agile, it is just one of the best hot tags in the business. It's gotta be, and this is when they were just fighting all over the place, including a press slam onto Barry Barricade, which probably doesn't sound that impressive, but it will blow your eyes. Whatever that means. We also got the TK driver, and Brody King broke up at the 1-2-ooh, and this served as like a double shock because it was so damn close, and like, that means the Young Bucks are going to win. So when Brodido actually did get the victory, I couldn't believe it, which is a slight exaggeration, but I said it anyway. It was Brody that got the biggest dive, though, which kind of kicked off their comeback. When Bandito hit this absolutely nuts fall-away slam, all of a sudden Brody King got the senton, which is when we got an even more nuts monkey flip with a 450 twist. And yes, Brodido got the pin for the 1-2-3. I stared off into the distance and I thought to myself, hot damn, Toto, we aren't even in Kansas. Which isn't even the saying. So I am absolutely going to give this an up, and listen, I understand this isn't everybody's taste, but if you're tuning into AEW and you get a match like this, you're like, I can't believe it, you're the problem, man, because by this stage, they have made it very clear. Also, I think Brodido could actually win this thing now, and that's exactly the kind of shit I need in my life. The Syndicate then made sure they found Brodido and said, listen, it's really wonderful what you're doing, but do not forget we're the tag team champions, so if you do go any further, we're gonna hurt you. It's like, what a way to pee on their parade. This is when MJF walked in because he wanted to talk to MVP, and Bobby and Shelton did walk away. And Max was like, listen, we've known each other for 20 years, whatever the flub it was. We're meant to be friends. Why don't we get together and go after this world championship? And MVP was like, listen, man, we're the Hurt Syndicate, and all you do is whine, moan, and bitch, and it's all about you. So I agree with Bobby, you're out. He even gave him the thumbs down, so I'm gonna have to send a cease and desist, and said, dude, you don't wanna win that world title, because Bobby Lashley is gonna be coming after you like he's the boogeyman. Still not convinced this is the end of this group. It just feels too convenient. So you know what we do? We sit down and we wait. When we did get to this FTR Stokely Hathaway comeback on Adam Copeland, and it could be the greatest rebuttal you've ever seen in your life. Started off by Stokely Hathaway saying that he's not worried about Adam Copeland's challenge because he's short, bald, and never got any hose, which means he's been fighting his entire life. He also promised to send Copeland back to his wife, who has a head shaped like a micro brawler, and Dax Harwood definitely laughed at that. And he's also going to send him back to his delinquent kids, who are going to have to ask, what happened, Daddy? And Adam Copeland's going to have to tell them, Stokely Hathaway beat me. Now there's more to this, but I'm just going to encourage you to watch it. I am so happy. The one, Stokely Hathaway is back on TV, but then he's with FTR because they are amusing too, and of course they'll kick your ass. I am giving it an up, man. I thought this was absolutely tremendous. Well, we got a big video for Okada versus Swerve Strickland, and Swerve Strickland came to the ring as well. He was basically like, listen, man, Okada is great, but he's never faced anybody like me. I'm the most dangerous man in AEW. Maybe I'll kill him. He also tied it into the fact that he took on Will Ospreay last year, and that was his friend. So what's he going to do with an enemy? And listen, he gets it, man. Okada, you're a generational talent. But there's only one Swerve Strickland. Swerve has also lost twice in London, so it's time to make amends, as he kind of painted himself a picture board or a memory board, which was him standing over Okada when all is said and done. So once again, if you had told me that Swerve's plan was to murder this man, I would basically believe you. You also promised that Don Callis is going to cry, so this was just Swerve Strickland, sort of really leaning into his babyface stuff, which makes all the sense in the world. But he still has heel tendencies, and I mean that as a positive. He is a super interesting personality. I'm gonna give it an up, like it's not something you have to write home about, but in terms of getting you pumped up for that match, did the job. Alicia Rattell was then talking to Mark Briscoe as we basically made it very clear he is on a winning streak, so if he does win later, he'll be in the world title picture. When we made it clear, because Hangman Anna Page walked in and said, I've always loved you, I've always respected you, and yes, it is true, you will be the #1 contender, you've just got to beat Max. Now, of course, deep down in your tootsie toes, you knew that meant Mark Briscoe wasn't going to win, and that just broke your heart twice as much. Sometimes a good story is meant to have a bit of tragedy. Before that, Renee Paquette was with Queen Aminata here though, and she was super duper mad she wasn't able to win. And Willow Nightingale walked in and they kind of had a love-a-thon, but then Chris Statlander was here. When Willow and Nightingale and Chris Statlander, for the 42nd millionth time, sort of had a falling out and had the most passive-aggressive conversation you have ever heard in your life. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess, eventually we are going to get these AEW Women's Tag Team titles, and Chris and Willow are going to be the first recipients. I am totally behind that. I do just think it's a little bit drawn out now. Like, if they do not have a match at Forbidden Door, I'll be totally confused, which I'm perfectly fine with because they have great chemistry. They should be teaching science. So as great as they are, and as awful, not as awful, but as much as a downgrade as the women's division be without them, just have to give it a bit of a down. Like, it just keeps on trundling. I don't actually know in which direction it's headed. As we are talking about Renee Paquette as well, I want to talk about this amazing thing that happened on the show that was just genuinely very funny in an innocent way. Because after Renee had talked to the Young Bucks and there was a big bit of text in the corner that said earlier tonight, we cut to the ring. Renee was there, it was like she teleported. Now, once again, the crazy jumping on this, AEW screwed up again. It just means you can't read. You should enjoy this in the funny humor way that it came out of nowhere, which is barely a sentence. But yes, it made me chuckle, so I thought I'd mention it. When we got to our main event that was basically a #1 contender match between Mark Briscoe and MJF, and this was just perfect. Everybody hates Max, everybody loves Mark. Once again, you kind of knew that Mark Briscoe wasn't going to win, but they found a way to tease you. Massive round of applause. I thought it was brilliant. Essentially, the idea too is that Briscoe didn't care about the meters and he was just going to keep going for the froggy bow. But MJF knew that was bad news, so he was run away. At one point, he was in the crowd and he threw a hat that he took off a fan. I was like, I don't think we've ever seen that before. I mean, we have, but it's been a while. MJF then started to cheat because he's just that guy. As once again, Briscoe was just doing move, 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 froggy bow, miss. Move, 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 froggy bow, miss. And of course, when he eventually hit it, even I bought on this. I was like, oh man, that's what they're gonna do. And obviously, MJF kicked out of the 1-2. My favorite part as well is that just before that, Mark Briscoe bit MJF, so he's tying into his character. And earlier on in this, a table had been set out on the outside. When Mark Briscoe went to do another froggy bow, he went crashing through it, and I started to get worried, especially because the referee started to count to 10. Now, first Maxwell was desperate for this. He was going, please, please count faster. But as soon as Briscoe went to get back into the squared circle, MJF cut him off, he hit the heat seeker, and yeah, sure, he did get the 1-2-3, but Briscoe put his foot on the rope, but the referee totally missed it when Max looked around and he just pushed it to the floor. I have very mixed feelings about this. In terms of how it looked, MJF just came across as the worst person in the world, and your heart went out to Mark Briscoe, which was the idea. But once that emotion kind of calmed down, I was like, how can a referee be that bad? Surely the referee's job should be to once again survey the situation, going, oh, you little schmuck, you tried to get away with that. I really do appreciate AEW trying to do something different, again, because there was no distractions, interference, or confusion. But I do have to give it a down. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it again. That doesn't mean we shouldn't keep trying to think outside of the box. But in execution, things can hit you in a certain way. That is just how I felt. Of course, Maxwell was going to beat the living hell out of Mark Briscoe after this when Hangman Adam Page came to the ring. And at one point, they were brawling in the crowd, and the useless wrestling security guards were here to separate them. When they got back to the ring, and Hangman went for a buckshot, but Friedman ran away once again. So we are quite clearly doing this at the pay-per-view, and it just works. I want to make this clear too. The match itself was absolutely brilliant. This, I don't know, war between Hangman and MJF, that's absolutely brilliant too. It's the kind of world title program we do need, especially because Jon Moxley totally naturally has spun off into Darby Allin. So this is some good main event storytelling, and you can grab all the other players whenever you do want. It is getting it out. So I really am excited about that match, and I guess it could happen at Forbidden Door, which I will be live at, so that's exciting too. But before we get to that, make sure you let me know what you thought about Dynamite in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen for ups and downs for Monday Night Raw. Otherwise, just have a terrific day. Don't let all this negativity get you down because it's not real anyway. See you soon.